Welcome to the Accounting Technology Lab, sponsored by CPA Practice Advisor, with your hosts, Randy Johnston and Brian Tankersley.
Good day. Welcome to the Accounting Technology Lab. I'm host Randy Johnston with my co-host Brian Tankersley. Now, we're both big fans of pre-accounting tools, things that'll work on documents and make your life easier. And one interesting discovery we've made is with a product called MakersHub. They are at the website MakersHub.ai. And, their theme is making AP unbelievably bearable and or enjoyable. Sorry, I always get that word wrong. But this whole idea of a system that is so easy to use and so accurate is what a lot of the competitors have been promising. And Makers Hub takes a lot of very tedious work and makes it much, much easier to do. Now, the way they do that is with a thing that they call WiseVision. And this WiseVision basically does a smart data capture with enhanced OCR technology and intelligent data management. So, Brian, on this, I know we've seen demonstrations of these products. Now, typically, you run the products a lot more, and I know we haven't had a chance to really put it through the paces because we've been writing so much CPE content. But I have not seen a more impressive platform in a while on this whole data capture OCR translation stuff. What would you like our listeners to know about this platform?
I would just first say that unlike a lot of the solutions that will only capture the totals off of bills and invoices and statements and things like that, this will actually capture things down at item level. So, if I'm thinking about, let's say I have a chain of restaurants, it's not enough for me to get the total off of the jobber invoice that has, paper and food and takeout containers and all kinds of other things like that on it, cleaning chemicals and so forth. I need the detail. And so the nice thing about this is this actually again goes through and does that. They go through and they have this proprietary WiseVision technology. They also go through and they've acknowledged the challenges in OCR and they've set up systems to work around it. So they've got tools that will actually go through and say, does it make sense that every other invoice number for this vendor is a number, and this one is letters. So it'll go through and look for things like that. And again, it's designed to go through and make the OCR technology better.
Now, in fact, on your comment on that, Brian, for our listeners, it's actually helpful to know that the WiseVision is an AI-enabled recognition. Now, we've talked about things like that in other accounting technology labs with things like Wolters Kluwer's Teammate Document Linker, which is doing a better job of OCR by leveraging AI technology. And the other part of that AP piece that you were calling out is it's smart enough because of this line level recognition that it actually maps the scans far more accurately than any platform we've seen to date. So this really takes that promised world of OCR technology and it gets a lot closer to what it should be. This whole idea of automated data entry and getting accuracy right and getting a streamlined workflow, I think that's part of what this group is doing. And do you see it the same way?
I do. I think just in general in my journey through the profession over the last 30 plus years has been that I didn't go to college to go in and key data in, but boy, I've done a lot of it over that period of time. And I love the fact that this uses that modern technology to do this, and it sets up the workflows and the other things in here to make it more consistent and to make it do things in here. And so the fact that they've applied AI to this, that's the way most of the people that are making their OCR more accurate are doing this. Is they're drilling down and they're saying, okay, what really is this? And if this is the invoice number, for example, we can extract information in there. I will say, just as an aside, I fed a number of comprehensive annual financial reports into Chat GPT, and it was amazing how accurate it was at being able to pull out all kinds of information out of those public reports. Now, the problem with that approach, of course, is that even though you can do that with ChatGPT, you don't want to, because you don't want that data to be included in their training model. And so this private model that they have in WiseVision is really important because it's not contributing to some kind of public data source where you have to worry about, is this AI going to have memorized my private information, like my account number and my credit card number or something like that? And is it going to be used in here?
So, of course, the firms that are doing this, Brian, understand that there's some real shortcomings in all of this inaccurate data capture with reliability issues and the inconsistency in data extraction. And the reason for that is AP bills are pretty hard to do. And in fact, why are they so hard to do? Well, because some of them are pretty long. That's certainly a factor. Some are pretty complex. That's certainly a factor.
Yeah, so multiple lines per item and different columns and things like that.
Yeah, and some are just almost completely random. I guess I would pick more on a contractor type of approach here, where you might go to a big box store and buy items, or where you go to retailers and buy items and then try to expense the receipts. You're going to wind up with some really, really strange issues around that.
Including folks that are still using handwritten things. And I don't know about you, but I have a home improvement contractor that gives me handwritten bills, and I'm glad to get them because he does it all right, and I'm willing to put up with the handwritten bills just because I'd rather have my stuff work right. But it's a pain because I have to do much more manually as I'm entering the information. But it's worth it because of the quality there. What's nice about this is you don't always have to choose. They're set up with this AI model where they can do a better job of recognizing the really hard things than we have been able to in the past.
Yeah, so your point about that manual data entry, that is so painful. And publicly, I've said this for over a decade. One of the things that tell me is a broken process is when I have accountants keying data. And I don't care what part of your practice you're thinking about, whether it's tax, audit, or client accounting services. If you're keying data, that's a problem. And there is still way too much manual data entry. And a lot of people are trying to work around this by outsourcing. Well, okay. But if we can automate that, that's a big deal. And, if you go back even 15 years ago, I guess it was, Brian, that you and I first were exposed to Receipt Bank, which is now Dext Prepare, a competitor to this platform. It was interesting how quickly the recognition would occur, what it did for the approval process. We think Makers Hub is more accurate than that platform, for example, and it eliminates some of that approval delay process, and it gets us much closer to real-time visibility. One of the visions that I think you and I talked about, I remember the conversation, you probably do too, in Washington, D.C., where we were talking to each other about, wow, isn't this interesting that you can get a receipt in and get it visible inside the accounting system in a few minutes? That was really the promise. And it was happening to a degree. But again, the accuracy also was a bit of a problem there.
Well, and it's a heck of a lot harder to have real time information if you have to do real time work to make it happen. The nice thing about this is you're letting the technology do the work finally, and you're really getting out of this trap of keying in information. I remember as a managing partner, I used to work with, we worked on a number of big audits, and we had one of our clients that had literally, it was a huge municipality that had thousands and thousands of accounts. And he said, I like keying it in because I get to look at things and see the value before or after. And I was thinking to myself, how many thousands of dollars at standard rates are we spending keying in the stupid trial balance because you're a Luddite? Can't we do some analytics or things like this? But that's part of the fun here. But again, this ability, this letting the technology do the work, so you can have real time information and manage in real time, is really critical. There are a lot of other platforms that offer this kind of stuff. Bill.com offers this. HubDoc, Makers Hub. There are many other AP automation platforms out there. We even have people that are making up their own. But there are literally hundreds of AP automation platforms if we expand out to the enterprise scale and so forth. So I think with this, since this is going to be part of your stack of applications, I think you need to check it out and see if this works for you, and if the way it works is consistent with the way you want to do payables.
Yeah.
Because
And
one of the challenges to these platforms is you have to work the way in many cases, you have to work the way they want it to work for your process. And if you don't, it doesn't. They have a little more flexibility than some of the others, however.
yeah, I think that is an interesting point. And when you look at this accounting documentation, pre-accounting documentation products. You and I have admired HubDoc for a long time. I used HubDoc in my Canadian K2 operations for extracting information. The OCRs in these legacy products like HubDoc and Bill, uh, the OCR works, but it has recognition issues. And this new AI-enabled OCR is a key differential here. And when I look across the 20 or 25 or so, somewhere in that range of AP products that I've reviewed, to my knowledge right now, Makers Hub is the only one that's extended the OCR with the AI. And again, the ability to handle this complex stuff at the line level, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, super. Well, I think you've got a great platform here. I think they have, I think you've got set up the workflows in here. You've got all the data as opposed to just the totals off of it. You have the ability to customize it to meet specific needs. You also have the ability to work with clients that have different needs and different data flows that need to happen for them. And you have the flexibility to do that. And honestly, one of the things we've talked about for a long time, everybody's talking about advisory, but I think CAS and payroll are critical parts of advisory, just because the person that has the real-time information is going to be able to give the most insightful, most timely advice. And, if you're not controlling that ledger and keeping it up and doing it right, you can't do anything with it. I was talking to a guy last night that needed a tax return prepared. And I said, okay, what state's the information in? Well, it's a mess. And I said, okay, well, I can't give you advice in a timely basis if we don't have better information coming in and higher quality information coming in. So I think, in general, this is a way to get you to what my mantra has been for a while, to having real-time data without having real-time work. And to the extent that you can have the technology do the work for you like that, I think you end up being in a much better position in the long term.
Yeah. So Makers Hub, in my mind, provides your firm some efficiency gains because of the data accuracy with their OCR enabled AI offering, which is clearly a big step forward. And by the way, that people say they have big step forwards, but their WiseVision really is a big step forward. There's a lot of customization and flexibility in the tool. And because of that, I think it's pretty cost effective, even compared to outsourcing. So the automation may be more cost justifiable than outsourcing. And I believe it becomes a strategic opportunity for you in your CAS practice in particular, and it may not hurt your firm in the meantime. So, Brian, I know our listeners do value some of your observations in this area. Any other final insights?
I think one of my mantras for the next couple of years is going to be let the technology do the work so you don't have to. And it's not that you're not going to work, but it's that you're going to let the technology do the work and you're going to manage the system and effectively become a Mario/Luigi data plumber, and get the system set up and configured and working. One of my favorite movies about process is called The Founder. It's got Michael Keaton in it, and it's about Ray Kroc and the way he came to be the founder of McDonald's. And it's interesting because the McDonald's process is really to make a fast food factory. And so each little outlet is one of those. And I think as you put these stacks together, you want pieces that will just take a piece and make it happen. And so that's exactly what Makers Hub is in that space.
All right, very good. Well, we hope this insight on the Makers Hub platform gets you to go look at it if you're running CAS practices that do any AP, because the technology is stunning compared to most other things that we've seen. And we've watched a lot of things, as you can tell, over a period of years,
And it's one
decades.
of the few that's at detailed level.
One of the very few. So we appreciate your time. We hope you'll join us in a future Accounting Technology Lab. Good day.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. We'll be back next Saturday with a new episode of the Technology Lab from CPA Practice Advisor. Have a great week.